This is Greg Gallagher, and this is part 3 of trading ETFs with the G3 trading system. We're going to look at how the system actually works. These are the disclosures that I have to make. This is educational and informational purposes only. They're my opinions, and my opinion can change at any time. And past performance is not a guarantee, blah, blah, blah. You can read it. Okay. So what I would like to do is take a look at a year-to-date chart of the XLK, that's the technology sector, and look at the stop outs and the reentries from the G3 model portfolio on a year-to-date basis as of, well, actually this goes through the 21st, which is today. We've had 4 stop outs, which are highlighted here in red. Okay. And if we look at each one, we had a stop out on June 9th with a gain of $1,584. And you can see the big down day. The green arrow pointing to the very massively high volume. Now, why we didn't stop out back here is because it was still going up. And none of these up and down movements triggered our stop out because the volume was so low back in here. Okay, we want to see a big down day with massive volume, or higher than normal volume, I should say. Now, after we got stopped out, we re-entered. It was triggered on July 12th. And again, I'll go into more detail later on, but this is the setup right here, this little purple dotted line, where it was obvious that it stopped going down. Okay, and then when it went back up and it popped up here, it got above this congestion right in here, we re-entered. Okay, this blue line that you see here is just the 50-day moving average. It's a guide. It has nothing to do with my trading system, but it does help establish that there's a very powerful uptrend for the technology sector this year. As a matter of fact, it's up over 30%. So again, not to spend a lot of time on this, but stop out for a gain, volume higher than the prior 10 days, re-entry on the 30th, stop out for a small loss, re-entry. So we had 2 nice gains, 1 small loss. Then we re-entered on the 29th, and we got stopped out right here for a gain of $754, or 7.5%, on the 29th of November. And then we turned around and re-entered on 12/11. Now what I want to do is break down this last trade and follow it all the way through and show you how precisely the model trades. Okay, this is a little bad, I apologize, but now we're looking at the same sector, XLK. This is the trade that was initiated on November 29th, where we purchased 170 shares at $58.90 a share for a total cost of $10,013. And we got stopped out on 11/29 for that $754 gain I talked about. What I'm going to do here is show you how my system actually stops us out, and why it's called G3 Investors. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. So as we're going up, we're looking for massive volume, which we got here, and we're looking for a big move down, whether it's a single. Each of these bars, by the way, represent 1 trading day, and this is a daily chart for a month, which encompasses only 21 days. Okay, so you can see the last close was 64.71 here. The high of that day, and that's going to be an important number later, was 64.77, and that happened on November the 28th. These 2 days, the closing was exactly the same, closed at 64.50. Well, that was higher than this day, which was, I don't know what the close was on that day, but this is the third higher high, and that happened on the 21st. It closed at 64.26. Now, this big down day, this big red bar, okay, on this massive volume, that took out all of this trading here, okay? And so I make sure that the stop was set, okay? I adjust the stop as I go along to make sure that the low of this day right here of 63.79, okay, when it goes below that, it triggers me to look and say, gee, or if I don't have time and I've just set a stop, which is what I did in this case, I had $1 stop loss right here. The trailing stop was set at $1.43. So we got stopped out at $63.34. Okay. And that resulted in the gain that we had. And that just basically is this, it's the last high was 77.44 minus the $1.43. And the Fidelity system or the Schwab system or any system where you had a dollar stop loss placed would take you out, okay, of that trade for a nice gain. Okay. Now let's take a look at the setup and trigger. Okay. So what happened subsequently? Because on the very first chart we looked at, the year-to-date chart, I showed you that we got back in. So let's take a look at how the G3 model setup and price triggers on XLK works. Okay, and this all occurred, well, it occurred from the November the 29th to the 11th before re-entry was triggered. But again, monthly chart, these bars are all 1 day of trading, and these are candlesticks. If you don't know or anything about candlestick trading or stock market trading, you know you gotta learn a little bit about that, and I'll be talking about that later on as we go along. Okay, now as you can see, we got stopped out. It went higher here, and then a lower high, and then another down day. Okay, and then hey, it had a higher high here, and the closing low, or the low of the day, the interim or the swing low, was at 62.11 for this day and that day. That is something that I look for as a possible setup. So this next trading day, if you can imagine, I look for confirmation of that. I look for this to go, hey, I want it to go up from this to establish that this is a low. And then I want a little more confirmation. There's the second day, okay? And then how I set my stop loss is I go, well, let's look at the last 3 down days. And so we go 1, 2, 3. And the reason we eliminate this one from it, because it's lower, the close was lower than this close. So I want higher closes to say, hey, look, and there's the absolutely high of that day. That day was, it was actually 64.01, but I set the stop at $1.90. So $64 minus 62.10 is where I come up with the $1.90, because this, a penny below this closing low right here, is the setup price, 62.10. I'm going to work from that price, and I'm going to let the market tell me how volatile this is by this trading activity right in here. But the key is 1 up day, 2 up day. The last day to get above and get in this is this one. So 1, 2, 3, we're back in. The entry price was re-triggered at $64 on 12/11/17, and an initial stop loss was set at $1.90. Now, how did I do that? You can go to any broker and they'll tell you how to set it up. I use Active Trader Pro with Fidelity, and so I've learned how to set that up myself. This video is not going to teach you how to do that. Maybe that's something you need to do on your own or whatever. I mean, I could teach you how to fish, but I'm not going to fish for you. This is Greg Gallagher with G3 Investors, and that's the end of part 3 of trading with the G3 model portfolio. So I always like to say, good luck and good trading.